Hey y'all. So happy birthday to retiring to Asia. I didn't have a video for this week, and when I got a reminder that the channel was turning 2, I thought it'd be a good time to go live and just give you guys a chance to chat, say hello, ask some questions, and see what's going on. Um, I'm If you're watching this later on, skip ahead until you see us start talking, and we'll pick things up when some folks join. I plan to answer a couple questions that I've gotten by email recently, and any others that you put into the chat. So hang tight, and I'm sorry for the video quality and audio quality. The Osmo is giving me fits, so I am on laptop webcam and audio. I hope you can hear me, but I know that the video, at least on my side, is really grainy and not very good. Let me pop open email and take a look at some of the questions I've gotten recently. So I know I did a poll after a recent video talking about maybe starting to do phone calls, consultation calls with anybody who's interested in moving abroad, moving to Thailand, retiring here, and actually got an overwhelming response that it's something that a lot of people are interested in. So first bit of news is that I do plan to start doing that, and I've actually had a couple people ask for calls already. So as I'm getting those scheduled, maybe I'll put some more information out in another video or in a post or something about how to do it. But right now my plan is shoot me an email, tell me you want to do a phone call. I plan to do them using the Line app. It's one of the most popular communication apps here in Thailand. You're going to need it anyway if you're coming here. So we can do video and phone calls on the Line app once you've got that downloaded. And then we'll figure out, based on where you are and time differences, what time we can actually do that. Looks like some people are starting to join now. If you've got questions, go ahead and pop them into the chat. And if not, I'll look at some of the ones that I've gotten lately and we'll go into those. So a lot of questions around finances will come up. Oh, sorry, I was just propping up the phone there. Sorry for the shake. And one of the questions was around taking withdrawals from your investment accounts. And the question was, you certainly look under 60. So when you take monthly withdrawals from your investments, do you take out 10% for early withdrawal penalties as well as taxes? So I am under 60, at least for a little bit longer. So I'm not withdrawing from any of my tax advantaged accounts. My IRA isn't being touched right now. All of the dividends are set on dividend reinvestment. So that's just continuing to build my portfolio and build my holdings until I need those. I do have some dividends paying out in my cash account now. I've switched the drip off there, and I've started to take cash out in those. So I don't hold any extra out for penalty because there's no penalty taking the dividends from my cash account, and those are taxed as ordinary income. So nothing to worry about there. It's just normal income. But since I'm not working anymore and not getting paid a U.S. salary, I have started to turn off the drip, at least in the cash account for now, but nothing coming out of the IRA accounts at this time. Let's see. Next question that comes in a lot is about how to move money back and forth to Thailand and whether or not you should use Wise, the Wise app, to transfer. There are a number of transfer apps out there, and I have used Wise extensively. And if you look in the comments of any of my videos, you'll see a link to use the Wise app. And I will say this, that when I first started using Wise, the transfers were a lot faster. and the exchange rates were better. So the exchange rates were very near market rates. However, over the last 6 months or so, the exchange rate that they're offering is more than, at times, more than 1 baht under the current market exchange rate, and their fees have gone up. So right now, if the exchange rate, let's say it's 34, you would only get 33 baht per, and I'm talking US dollars, 33 baht per US dollar for every transfer, and they're going to charge you a fee based on how much you're transferring over. Whereas in the past, you might have gotten like 33 and a half. And it may not seem like much, but 1 baht per dollar is fairly significant, because I mean, you think if you move $1,000, that's 1,000 baht, or around 30 bucks plus the transfer fee. So what it's starting to look like, at least to me, is that anything above about $1,000, I could almost be better off doing a wire transfer. A lot of times your source bank, your bank in the US will charge you like a fee of 25 bucks, and you can transfer, you can wire transfer into the correspondent bank or direct to the international bank for $25. Now your receiving bank may charge a fee also, and of course there's going to be a little bit of difference on the exchange rates, but generally the banks are going to be very, very close to the market rate. So you'll get more for your dollar if you're transferring a different way. Check out some of the other apps, see what's best for you. But personally, I'm going to slow down on using Wise, at least for bigger transfers. Anybody got any questions for me out there? Go ahead and pop those into the chat, and I think it's working, and we should be able to answer those. I'll look for another one that has come in recently, and we'll keep going on that. While I'm looking for that, I can't believe the channel's 2 years old now. It doesn't feel like I've been making videos for 2 years, and it certainly doesn't feel like I've been in Thailand for over a year, coming up on a year and a half very quickly here now. And I'm not even supposed to be here yet. Originally, my plan was to retire June of this year. But here I am sitting on 15, 16 months of already being in Thailand. I've just renewed my visa already, and I'm about to renew the lease on the villa. Wow, Robert has put in, he did a wire transfer from his US bank to his Thai bank. It only cost you $5. That's great. That's an amazing wire transfer rate. Did your Thai bank charge you anything to receive it? One other option that I forgot to mention, and it depends on whether or not your bank offers it. None of mine do, but there's an international ACH that can be done as well. It's the IAT. It's just a different formatting of the ACH. Like normally you would transfer one bank to another, like PayPal, that kind of thing is an ACH transfer. There are international ACHs, but unfortunately, and those should be cheaper, but none of the banks that I use and the broker that I use for investments, none of them offer the international format. So it's just not an option to me. And that's something else I've got to start looking at, is maybe I need to switch my banking and brokerage relationships to something that offers me more opportunities to transfer money cheaper. Wow, his US bank charged him nothing for a wire and $5 from the Thai bank. That's awesome. If you've got questions, pop them in there. Next one coming up, one of the most common ones that I get, and I've talked about it in several other videos. I get asked all the time about getting visas and whether or not you should use an agent. The choice is yours. Everyone will tell you that you can do all of that on your own. And like I always say, time is money for me. Time is something that I don't want to waste sitting in an office, waiting in a line to get to the counter and be told you're missing a paper or you've got something wrong, start over. And for me, the cost of using an agent is worth the time savings. So do what you like, and do what works for you. And as far as the cost, it can vary. It will vary agent to agent, and depending on the services that you're gonna hire them for. If it's just a visa, or do you need visa, bank account, and driver's license. So it really just depends. But there are some really good agents out there, and you can find some online that are super helpful, and you can check the pricing with them as you go. The one thing I will add to that is that I get asked a lot of time what agent I used, but the person asking me is talking about moving to Chiang Mai. You're going to want an agent where you live, because they're going to go to the immigration office for that province or that district, the one closest to where you're going to be. You're not going to want to live in Chiang Mai and use an agent here in Pattaya, because you don't want to have to come into Chonburi immigration anytime you need to get something done. So find an agent where you decide to live. And of course, if you start in one place and you move to another, you can just find another agent there if you're going to keep doing that. Hey, Scott, thanks. Happy birthday. And I was talking about phone calls earlier. So Scott and I have actually been exchanging emails about talking on the phone. And I will be offering that as a service to y'all if you want to have a call, video call, phone call, and talk more in depth through your plan, through questions you might have that don't get addressed in videos like these. I'm happy to do that. And there'll be more information coming out about that. But if you want to have a chat, just send me an email and we will coordinate a time and a way to do that. And right now, like I mentioned at the beginning, right now the plan is to use the Line app for that, because it's something you're going to need here. So we'll get you your account set up, and then we'll be able to start chatting that way. And that way you're ahead of the game before you even get to Thailand. So another common question I get is about flights and how to find cheap flights. I've said a couple times in other videos, everything in Thailand is super affordable and super cheap, except getting here, especially if you're coming from the US, right? So I don't have any real tips on ways to find cheap flights. I keep looking on, Agoda or Kayak or Expedia, all of those major airline websites that you can use. And just some of them, like Expedia, I'll use. I actually used it. I'm going home in May for my youngest son's graduation. And you can go in and search a route, and you can tell it to track those flights, and it will notify you of price changes. If the price goes up by $3 or down by 50, it's going to send you a text or an email or however you configure it and tell you that the price has gone up or down. A lot of people say that the best days to buy on like a Tuesday for some reason. I don't know why, and I've never really spent the time to look at that to see around price fluctuations. Best thing I can tell you is I will say, use a private browser, like an incognito browser, because of course the sites use cookies to track you. And if you keep searching the same places, they kind of tend to give you the higher prices. But if you use a private browser, they won't be able to track that as well. And sometimes you'll find cheaper flights that way. And one other tip I see a lot from other people is, go and find on those Expedia website type things, and then go direct to the airline and try and book it there or check there for cheaper prices. It's hit or miss for me when I've tried that. The booking direct is not always cheaper for whatever reason. But as far as finding cheap flights, it's kind of hit or miss. Try and be flexible with your dates. Like on the way home, I mentioned that I used Expedia. It told me prices had dropped. And I happened to look one day later coming back, and it was even cheaper. So be a little flexible with your dates. If you can, change your departure or return dates a day or two on either side, it might be cheaper to fly home on Thursday instead of Wednesday, and look for deals that way. Another question I get asked a lot is about bringing your electronics. First, I'll say if you're planning on moving here, try to move as little as possible. You see a lot of questions about, oh, what company can I use to move all of my furniture to Thailand? My recommendation is don't. Sell everything, sell all that stuff, because you don't need to bring it here. There's furniture here, there's clothes here, there's electronics here. Now, you might want to sell your computer. Hey, if you're looking to update, it's a good time to get rid of that. But as far as, electronics and things like that here, everything that you can get at home, you can get here. TVs are cheap here. You can get a really nice, really big TV for, like $300 US, $150 US. It depends on how big you want, but they seem to be cheaper here. And you'll get brands like LG and Sharp and all the other fancy stuff, or you can go with more local brands and save even more that way. But as far as electronics and power, generally, if you've got electronics that plug in and then they go through a box, between the laptop, right? So it's the cord plugs into my laptop, goes to the box, and then the box has the plug that goes to the wall. If you read that box, it's going to tell you what kind of power, how much voltage it can handle, and that kind of stuff. And generally, things like that. This laptop was bought a couple years ago in the U.S., and I just plug it into the wall here because the inverter, converter, that box in between takes care of all that. Now, sometimes things like shavers, hair dryers, that kind of stuff, they're direct wired and they can't handle that. But if you look at the label on your appliance or on your electronics, it will tell you what it can handle. A lot of things you can just plug right into the wall here and you're good to go. But some little things, hair dryers, razors, that kind of stuff, you can blow them up. But they're easy to get here. They're cheap to get here. So I wouldn't even worry about packing that kind of thing. Just buy it here. What other questions y'all got? How come cars got wheels? I don't know why I always say that. It's something I've had from way back. Here's another question. Visa cost and driver's licenses. Oh, there's one I get all the time. You cannot come to Thailand and legally drive just on your foreign driver's license. And I actually just saw a story the other day. It was a female from, I think it was Australia, and she was talking about she had a pink license from her home country, and everywhere she'd gone, she'd always been able to drive using that license. And she got a ticket here for not having a valid license. Here, you've either got to have a Thai driving license or you've got to have an international driving permit. And the best way to get those is at home. If you're in the US, just go to AAA. They're $20. They'll take your picture. They'll give you the paper. It's really cardboard, basically, not even that thick paper they'll stamp in it that you've got an international driving permit. Those from the US are good for 1 year. I renewed mine when I was home. When did I go? Anyway, December, when I was home for Christmas. So I've got another one there, but I got that so I can travel to other countries. I've got my Thai driving license here. So get an international driving permit before you come here. And that way you can rent a vehicle. Now, you can't rent legally a motorbike here if your IDP is not stamped with a motorcycle endorsement. So if you don't have a motorcycle license at home, you can't come here and rent a motorcycle. And I definitely would not recommend that, especially if you've never ridden one before. And you really don't need, unless you're really staying long term, you really don't need to be driving. It's so easy to get around here with public transportation, whether it's a bot bus or it's Grab or Bolt or a taxi or a motorcycle taxi. I wouldn't worry too much about getting a vehicle right away. But if you're going to drive, you want to drive legally. And then the other thing to tag onto that is make sure your insurance will actually cover you for vehicle accidents, especially motorbike accidents. When you're here, a lot of them, I understand, won't. So get an international driving permit before you come, and that way you're driving legally here, because there's no other way to do it. Technically, you're not supposed to be able to rent a vehicle, motorcycle, or car without a proper license, but this is Thailand and it happens all the time. And just because they rent it to you doesn't mean you won't get a ticket. So, and wear your helmet. If you're riding a motorbike here, definitely wear a helmet. Scott asked, are the wall outlets in Thailand the same config as USA? So many of them are like multi-function outlets. So we have here like a two-prong, I don't know if it's a J or a T, but it's two round prongs that go into the wall. But all of the outlets, like here in my house, have that circle, but they also at the end of the circle have the lines. So I can plug a square, US plug right into those. But sometimes you'll find some that only have the circles, and you would just need get an adapter or something, or plug in a power strip. You can go to Mr. DIY. It's one of the stores here. It's like I don't know, kind of like a dollar store, Dollar Tree kind of thing, but not dollar prices. Pretty close. Anyway, lots of places, Big C, that kind of thing. You can get a power strip, plug it into the wall, and then plug US plugs into that, or whatever plugs you've got. You can do that. So lots of options here. DB, let's see. Finally made it to Thailand. Oh, once you finally made it to Thailand, man, I thought you were here already. I was like, yeah, all right. So we actually met up. He's from Richmond, and when I was home, we actually met up. So thanks for joining. Good to see you again. Robert says, do you need a DL for smaller CC scooters? You need a license for everything. Get that international driving permit. Make sure you get a helmet when you rent one, and you'll be good to go. So come legal. I mean, the tickets are 500 to 1,000 baht, but you don't want to. Why bother with that, right? So a lot of people say, and something you'll hear a lot is the Thai police target foreigners, and I'll tell you that I ride from my house in Bangsaday to Pattaya frequently, and I've almost got my helmet, I've got my license, I've got insurance on the bike, and there's very, very often there's a police checkpoint. If you're coming from Pattaya to Bangsaday, when you pass the Pattaya floating market, the next exit on Sukhumvit has a little police station at the bottom of the ramp. So those guys will come up the top of the ramp, and when the weather's nice, in the mornings when it's cool, they'll set up a checkpoint, and they stop everybody. It's not just foreigners. And a lot of times when I'm riding, I've got a full face helmet on, I've got long sleeves on. They stop everybody. I watch them pull in next to me. It takes about 30 seconds to whip that driver's license out and show them you've got one. Last time I got stopped at the checkpoint, as soon as he saw the license, he didn't bother checking, is my registration up to date? Didn't want to see anything. It's just, go ahead. If you've got a helmet on, if you're legal to drive, if you pop out that IDP and it's got a motorcycle stamp in it, you're good to go. You're down the road. It's like getting stopped anywhere else. If you're right, you got no worries. If you're wrong, you may get a ticket. You can't really complain about it, can you? I mean, if you're not wearing a helmet and the law says you got to wear a helmet wherever you are, you get a ticket, it's on you. So, just be right before you come and you'll be good to go. VGR's on the dark side. Hello on the dark side, just up the road. Have recent market changes in the U.S. impacted your investment dividend strategy? No, and they haven't, right? So I've talked a couple times. I've made a couple videos about companies I've invested in and how I'm using dividend-focused investments to kind of fund my retirement, even though up until very recently everything was on drip. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, my cash account, I've turned the drip off on some of those. So the great thing about a downturn in the market is that for the dividends that are being reinvested, I'm buying more shares of the stock because right now the stock's cheaper. The dividend doesn't change when the price goes down. So if the stock was paying $1 a share before this dip or correction in the market, it's still paying $1 a share, but the shares have gone from $40 to $30. I get to buy more. So when they go back up, the value of my account goes back up. So I don't sweat it. The only time you lose money is if on a downturn is if you actually sell. And I haven't needed to sell any of the holdings for any reason other than to investing in something else, and I'm not doing that now because I don't want to lose the the price appreciation that I had before. So for me, it's a buying opportunity. It's a chance to average down on stocks that I already own, but the dividend doesn't change. So I don't worry about that. Oh, Grayland is VGR. Hey, good to see you. We need to do coffee again soon. Virginia Golden Retrievers. Hey, if you guys are looking for a dog and you still live back in the U.S., Virginia Golden Retrievers. Grayland is the owner of that, and he actually, it's very close to Richmond. Used to live down the road from me. We didn't know each other before we got here. Now he still lives down the road from me. He's up the road, and I'm down here in Bangsaray. So if you're looking for Golden Retrievers, check out Virginia Golden Retrievers. No commission necessary there, Grayland. If you get any calls, let me know. But buy me a coffee. All right, let's find another question and talk about what else you guys got. Pop something in there. Oh, short-term condos. Let's talk about that. And I did a video recently about the hassles you can get into with short-term condos. So Thailand has a law where technically a condo it's licensed as a condo, or it can be licensed as a hotel. If the building is not licensed as a hotel, it is illegal to rent for less than 30 days. Of course, that falls to the property owner. And if you walk in these big condo buildings, like if you go in any of the Riviera Group buildings, you're going to see a big sign that tells you it's illegal to rent for less than 30 days. But it's like riding a motorcycle with no helmet. People do it. It doesn't make it right. If you've emailed me, or if you're coming for less than 30 days and you're looking for a place to stay, I've done several videos on places that do short-term rentals, but they're getting few and far between to find. So I'm probably not going to be doing too many more, specifically short-term rentals. And what I'll say is, look online, go to those Expedias, go to those Airbnbs or Agoda sites and see what you can find. But just be aware that if you end up renting, say at Riviera again for a week, just know that what you're doing isn't right. I've only seen one story. I mentioned it in the video that I did that, hey, I don't know if people are actually come knocking on your door and going, hey, we see you've got a 1 week rental, get out. And right after I made that video, I did see one story of a condo building that was kind of cracking down, and the neighbors had reported it. And the folks showed up and were like, hey, you can't be here. You got to go. Anyway, it's just one of those things. Just be aware that, even though people are doing it, you're not supposed to. Find a hotel, find another place to stay. And sometimes, people come in, 2 months. I want to stay 2 months. A lot of people do that for peak season here, which is wrapping up quickly. You may have to move a couple times, but finding, one condo for 2 months, you can just search around and see what you can find. They're out there. A lot of times they're not going to be the more modern condos. They're going to be the older buildings where people are, trying to make a profit off of something they bought a while back. Just beware, be aware and beware, especially if you're renting like off a Facebook group. One, that anything under 30 days is technically not legal, but you want to make sure that the place is what it looks like before you actually get there. And that's hard to do on like an Airbnb site. So you've got a little bit of recourse if you show up and this ain't what the pictures look like, or the location's not where I thought it was. You may be able to go back through Airbnb to get some resolution for that. But there are some nightmare stories, and I've had several people contact me once they've arrived and going, hey, I rented this Airbnb and it's terrible. Help me find a place to go. We'll see what we can do, but short-term rentals can be a problem. So just do as much research as you can to find a place, and best of luck there. But I'm not going to be doing much work with short-term rentals anymore. It just gets to be, I want to help y'all, but with that particular topic, it's it's a ton of work, and it's like the videos on condos altogether. I'm kind of backing away from those. It's just I'll do what I can, but you're probably going to get email back from me that says just go online and try and find something. Robert, I'll be there in May. How long should it take to get your visa? You're coming in May and staying, and the question is, how long will it take to get like a retirement visa once you get here? Most places, most countries coming in now you get 60 days on arrival in your visa or in your passport. So it gives you plenty of time to get your visa. When I came, we only got 30 days from the U.S. And they say do it within the first week. But if you're coming and okay, so you'll get 60 days when you arrive. So there's no rush. Do things like find a long-term place to stay. A lot of places you're going to have to show your passport. And if you've sent it off to immigration, that's going to put you in a bind because they won't take it like a picture of your passport, that kind of thing. And a good example of that is to get a SIM card. If you want to get a Thai phone number and a Thai SIM card here, you're going to need to show your passport, and they won't take a picture at like True or AIS, that kind of stuff. So get all that stuff done. Get your bank account open. Get your driver's license. Get everything you need settled, and then send your passport off. But as long as you're within 3 weeks of whatever stamp or visa you're on, you can get it done. Especially if you go with an agent, they can, like my renewal came back in a week, and my original retirement visa here took like 2.5 weeks to come back. So if you've got 21 days or so left on whatever entry you're on, you should be good to go. Let's see if I can find something else people ask me about all the time. If you guys don't want to ask anything. Sorry, I picked the phone up so I'm not shaking you guys to death when I tap in on it. Charles Schwab gives you 3 wires per quarter. I knew they refunded ATM fees, but I was not aware 3 wires per quarter. Good tips there. And Schwab is actually, when I was talking earlier about changing my accounts around, like my brokerage that I'm at now won't do international wires, but I use Bangkok Bank here. Sorry, I'm playing with the phone again. And Bangkok Bank has a correspondent bank in New York, which makes it technically a U.S. bank. So I can wire from my U.S. banks to Bangkok Bank's correspondent, and then they do the transfer to the Thai bank account there. Just takes a little bit longer for money to move around because you're making a wire and then they're doing the internal transfer. Robert says he ultimately plans to live in Bang Sarai too. Well, things have slowed down by then. By May, yeah, once Songkran ends, it'll be pretty quiet, and it's starting to slow down here now. We had a booming peak season here. There were foreigners all over the market, all over the place here. There were a lot of people in Bang Sarai. It's a nice, quiet place. If you're looking for something with no hustle and bustle, it's a one street town basically. It's a great place to be. The beaches are pretty, the water's nice. But yeah, things will be slowing down by May, and prices will be coming down too because peak season will be over. So if you're looking for long-term leases, there's another tip: try and rent in off-season because it's a good bit cheaper most of the time. Let's see, did I miss somebody? Nope. Still taking questions. We'll go a little bit longer and see what's going on. Sorry, I'm looking for questions here. Something that I haven't answered already. Like I said, I get a lot of the same question all the time. So those are the most frequent ones. Where to live, how to rent, visas. We touched on Thai phones, and let's jump on Thai phone numbers and Thai bank accounts for a minute, just because there's been a lot of news stories about the government of Thailand cracking down on fraudsters. So these phone call centers, scam centers, drive people nuts here, and a lot of them operate just across the border, especially in Myanmar. And the Thai government has started cracking down on those call centers, how they make their money, how they move their money, and just fraud and money laundering in general, right? So they are tightening up on getting a SIM card and getting a bank account. So bank accounts now, the banks are doing verifications that your phone number matches the phone number on the account. So for mobile banking and that kind of stuff. And they're actually closing accounts that are inactive. They're closing accounts that the phone numbers don't match up. And they've made it very, very hard to get accounts compared to a couple weeks ago, because the government has cracked down on these things. So you've got to be here on a long-term visa. Well, you're supposed to be here on a long-term visa. And I've seen several stories where people coming on the new DTV, right? 5 years, 180 days at a time, multiple entry, and banks are turning them away, saying, we're not going to open an account for you because technically that's a tourist visa, even though it's 6 months. They won't do it. And they've had to shop around and take some other paperwork in and kind of find a bank that would do it for them. So, and that's all part of this recent emphasis on anti-fraud, anti-money laundering stuff that the government's kind of on a kick right now. I think general consensus, at least from agents and some bankers that I've heard from, is that it won't last, and it's more focused in some areas than others. So while it might be more difficult here in Pattaya, it may not be as difficult in other places, just because of the bank clients that come here and the foreign influence that we have here. So just something to be aware of. Getting a SIM card, you're going to have a passport, and technically, I think a long-term visa, but just know that it may be a little bit more running around, at least in the near term. Yeah, Robert says they've closed over 80,000 accounts. Yeah, you see news every day about things that are going on. So the call centers in Myanmar are getting powered by electricity in Thailand, so they've cut electricity going to that entire town across the border. And there were stories of, well, okay, they cut electricity, so now everybody's using generators, and people were crossing the border from Myanmar to buy gas to fuel the generators. So they made a local law that you couldn't sell gas in 5-gallon cans and at the gas stations, and you couldn't take gas back across the border. So there's a lot going on with that, and there's trickle down from that, and it's affecting us with just getting phones, getting bank accounts. But hopefully it will go back to the way it was, or people will find new ways to do it. But again, all the more, we had several agents say, we're not opening bank accounts anymore because we can't do it. And I haven't seen any of those agents come back and say, yeah, we are doing it again now. And I've seen a couple say, well, we're still doing it. It's just harder and maybe a little more expensive than it used to be. But like I said earlier, this is Thailand. Things change all the time. It's just one of those things you just roll with it and figure out how to make it work. One of the other things I get asked about all the time is, what can you do when you're here? What do you do to fill your time? And my only answer to that is whatever you want. And that's my great answer for what are you doing today? Whatever I want. If you've got a hobby at home, chances are you can bring that hobby here. I will say that if your hobby is like collectibles or gathering stuff, having things, you may run into problems expanding that here. If you want to move your collection here, that's one thing. But if, say you collect vintage baseball cards. It's going to be very hard for you to acquire new cards because a lot of people won't ship here. You might have to have it shipped to a friend's house in the US and then they ship it to you. Of course, that increases your cost on those things. If you collect antique sewing machines, well, you see a lot of them used as tables here, so maybe you can still keep that one going here. But the other problem with collection hobbies is storage. So we don't have big closets and things like you have in a lot of other, well, especially in the US, right? We're used to big houses, big spaces, big closets. You don't get that here. You'll have little cabinets, little wardrobe cabinets, and not a lot of storage space. So something else to think about if you've got some kind of big collection and you're getting ready to move, maybe it's time to get rid of that and sell that off. But if you like to golf, it's a great place for golf. If you like surfing, there are places you can surf. Windsurfing is very, very popular. Beach always has a great breeze here. And that's an opportunity. Hey, maybe you don't windsurf or stand up paddleboard. Maybe it's something you take up. So generally, if there's something you like to do wherever it is you're coming from, you can find things to do here that are similar or exactly the same, right? Pickleball is very popular back home. It's getting very, very popular here. Badminton is very popular here. I don't know that it's popular a whole lot of other places, but I think it's an Olympic sport, so maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm just clueless on badminton. But that's also a great way to meet people, right? It gets you out of the house, gets you some exercise, and you get to meet people, and you'll meet Thai people, you'll meet foreigners from lots of different places by just getting out and doing things. So when it comes to hobbies, you can find new ones here, or you can bring the existing one with you. Just be aware that if the existing one takes up a lot of space or is heavy, bulky to move, you might run into problems, either getting it here, getting collections here, or continuing, that kind of thing. What are complications for new arrivals who are unopened to open a bank account? Convenience, really. So if you can't open a bank account, you're going to have to pay everything in cash or with Wise transfers to that person. And you can transfer from Wise directly into a Thai person's account, but it can take several days at times. We talked about Wise a little bit ago and how their pricing structure has kind of gone downhill. The transfer speed has also gotten much longer. So what used to transfer in a couple seconds to a day or two, now often my Wise transfers take a week. There could be delays in getting your money unless you're using, like Robert was talking about, using Schwab for reimbursing ATM fees. You're going to be using ATM to pull cash out. You're going to be paying fees. So it can cost you more. You might have to carry around more cash. And then you're gonna have to be exchanging money all the time, which if you're here in Pattaya isn't hard to do because there are exchange booths all up and down, every street you go to. But if you're down here in Bangladesh, I don't think we have an exchange down here. And I don't think we have any branches of banks. We have ATM machines. So to exchange money, I would have to go somewhere else if I've got US cash. But I'm in Pattaya all the time, so I can just go by a booth and whatever I've got, I can exchange. And the other big, along convenience thing is with a Thai account, everybody pays for things with QR here. Thailand has a goal of going cashless in the next couple of years, and they're actually ahead of schedule to do that. So whereas at home, I wouldn't think about swiping my debit card for, a 30-cent purchase or a $1 purchase. I just pay cash for it. But here it's nothing to have, a 20 baht charge for a coffee or something and scan to pay, right? And we're talking about like 70, 80 cents. Because there are no transaction fees for us, that kind of thing there. It's super convenient. It's easy for the vendors. You don't have to deal with, I've only got a 500 baht bill. So a lot of vendors aren't going to be able to change those. They just can't make change, 1,000 baht bills especially. So that's the complications for us of not having a bank account here. Those are the main ones, right? Especially if you're here short term. If you're here long term, you're not going to have that big of a problem. You'll still be able to do it because you can get, once you get that 90-day and that kind of thing, you can get bank accounts opened up. But it just may be a little bit less convenient than it used to be. Yeah. So Steve talking still in the comments, guys, if you're not reading those, take a look at those if you can see them. He's got some good information there about Charles Schwab accounts. And I've heard great things about that, and a lot of people use them. It's definitely something I'm going to look at. Like I mentioned, moving my money over to Schwab from where I am now. Not from an investment perspective, I'm not going to gain anything there, but from a money movement perspective, access to cash, transfers, that kind of thing. They've got a better setup for international transfers than where I am now. So I'm going to be checking into that myself. All right, let's go. Last call for questions. We are just crossed 45 minutes on the stream, and I'm happy to answer anything else if you've got. I'll say again that I decided based off of your all's feedback to the poll and comments after that last video asking about, if you want to have consulting calls. I am going to start doing that. If you'd like to ask more personal questions or talk more about, your personal situation and have an exchange like this, whether it's by video or just on the phone, I'm going to start doing that. Send me an email. It's retiringtoasia@gmail.com. Download the Line app, get your account set up, and then we can schedule a call. And I haven't figured out pricing or duration, that kind of thing, because most of the time I think it's just going to be kind of a free exchange of thoughts, and I don't want to say, okay, at 30 minutes, like your therapist, right? Oh, your time is up. We'll figure it out. If I get into more structured pricing and setting times for prices and that kind of stuff, I'll let you all know. But a lot of you, based on the poll, one said that you wanted this kind of service, you would be interested in that. Most of you were looking for 30 minutes to an hour. And it was pretty well split between like under $30 and then people saying 50 to 75. So that may end up being, okay, 30-minute call, hour call. Right now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. We'll figure it out. If you email me and say you want to have a call, we'll figure it out. And then if it gets to be, something that's fairly consistent, I'll make it more structured so that y'all will be aware. Question for you now. So you answered the questions for me on that in that other service. Members only. A lot of channels have a membership, right? And it's a monthly fee where you get special content. You may get an extra live. You might get to see videos early. I'll tell you, for me, I don't have that with any of the channels that I follow. Personally, I don't see a benefit in it. But do you? Do any of you subscribe to channels, have their memberships? And if so, what are the benefits that you get from that make it valuable to you? So if you could answer those questions for me, drop those in the comments. I would appreciate it. And it's just something else I'm considering doing. But I'll tell you, like I said, honestly, I don't see a value in it. But if you tell me what content you want that you currently pay for, or would get value from a membership type setup, let me know. It's something I'll think about. But that kind of goes against my recent trend of not posting as much because I want to enjoy retirement more. Anyway, channel is 2. Can't believe it. I can't believe I've been here this long already. 8,300 subscribers so far. I'm hoping to get to 10,000 by the end of the year. We'll see how that goes. If you come up with any other thoughts or questions, you can always put comments on this video when it posts later. Or you can shoot me an email. Again, retiringtoasia@gmail.com. Get emails anytime. And I will be happy to answer those for you. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.